Photographing this figure is a lot harder than what I was expecting. Hello and welcome to Excurgane Blog and Photography. I'm Steven and today I will be giving this figure right here a detailed review. This is Sega's SPM series prize figure of Ereshkigal from Fate's Grand Order. As usual, since this is a prize figure, normally you can acquire her for about $20-25 around that range. And this is a relatively new figure. She has just been released a few weeks ago. If I'm not mistaken, either in late April or early May of year 2021, very recent, a new product. Before we get to her, we will compare her box to Ishtar's box first. And this is the weird part I noticed when I compared the two figures. Okay, the first thing is between their boxes, there is a huge difference in their size. This is Ishtar and Ereshkigal. As you can see, the box sizes are quite different. And initially I thought this isn't anything unusual given how Ereshkigal has a huge cape behind her, while Ishtar is a lot simpler as a figure. So I did not think too much about it. But the inconsistencies do not end here. When I unbox the figure, the packaging is also very different for each figure. For example, Ishtar. I shall just bring her in. Alright, so this is Ishtar next to Ereshkigal. Inside Ishtar's box, Ishtar is packed into this molded plastic, right? Yeah, it's supported by this molded plastic, PETG plastic inside the box, but that wasn't the case with Ereshkigal. Ereshkigal is simply wrapped in plastic and bubble wrap and shoved into the box. No such plastic for the packaging of Ereshkigal inside. That is the second difference. And then the third difference, you could see it directly in front of me right here. These two figures, despite being from the same SPM series of prize figures by Sega, their sizes are different. Ereshkigal is ever so slightly larger than Ishtar in every single dimension. Their bases are different, the height are also different, and when you look at the overall size of the figure, the size of the figure's head, the limbs, the arm, the body, everything, Ereshkigal is ever so slightly larger. It feels like Ishtar is a 1/8.5 scale while Ereshkigal is a 1/8 scale. So this is really weird in my opinion. They are supposed to be the same series, they are supposed to be a pair, yet they are quite different between the two. And their differences do not end here. In terms of quality control, from the paint work to the overall sculpt work, everything about the figures, these two are quite different. If you were to ask me which is the better figure, the good news is Ereshkigal is the much better figure than Ishtar. I have already reviewed Ishtar back then, the link is right up here. So with Ishtar, the consistencies, or rather the lack of it, is really odd in the sense that one leg will be in gloss paint, the other leg will be in matte paint. So, and then the same thing applies to her arms. Both of her arms, each arm has a different paint finish. It was really weird in my opinion. That isn't the case with Ereshkigal, fortunately. Ereshkigal is a lot more consistent when it comes to the paint job. Turn this pair of figure around and take a look at their backs and you will also notice a major difference. Ereshkigal's hair is finished in matte. Meanwhile, Ishtar has a rather glossy finish for her hair. This is just one out of over a dozen differences between this pair of figure, despite coming from the same figure series by the same manufacturer. So what is exactly going on behind the scenes over at Sega's factory? I really have no idea. But I find this a bit baffling or even bizarre. Okay, back on Ereshkigal. While Ereshkigal is the better made figure compared to Ishtar, she isn't really without her flaws. At first glance, I would say this is probably the best made Sega prize figure I have personally purchased within this year, within 2021. The best one so far, no questions about that. But when you pay attention to the small details, yeah, you can still find the flaws, but they are not really obvious unless you are really nitpicking, then you won't really see it. For example, the gold trims on the side of a cape over here, a lot of paint bleeding and inaccuracy. But when it comes to the standards of price figure, this is nothing new. You will see this in a lot of other price figures. So this is nothing unusual over here. I'm not suggesting the figure is badly made, but this is common. And then there's this spot on her right shoe, right foot. I'm not sure what that is. These are only the two issues I can see with this figure of Ereshkigal, including the gold trim on her cape. As usual, since this is a price figure, you will see mold lines and seam lines in some places. There is actually a rather obvious one under her right armpit. There's some debate going on regarding her face on all the fact that she doesn't really look like Ereshkigal. So the thing with this figure is that she is one of those kind of figures where she only looks good from very specific angles. So when you look at this figure of Ereshkigal, from the side, from a 45-degree angle, from the front, or any other directions, she will look rather different. Her face will look rather different. When you look at Ereshkigal from exactly the front, her face looks to be on the large side, as if she has a puffy face, a big face, a thick face. I don't know what is the exact word to describe it. I would say puffy face, puffy cheeks. So her cheeks are a bit on the thick side. But when you look at her from an angle like this, she looks rather accurate to what you see in the anime at least. However, if you were to ask me between this figure of Ereshkigal by Sega and the one made by Bandai, I would take this one any day. Bandai's version of Ereshkigal is price figure quality, but it costs like 80 or 90 US dollars. It is just not a good purchase at all. This is way better if you are on a budget. Of course, if you have a much higher budget, feel free to go for the one made by Aniplex or even Finex. I do have Aniplex Ereshkigal over here. I have already purchased her since last year. As for whether I will review her, I'm not sure. Maybe in near future, I might review Aniplex version of Ereshkigal. Should you buy this price figure of Ereshkigal? Absolutely. Because when you consider the fact that Sega is a rather inconsistent figure brand, they make figures from the really bad ones, from the really good ones, and this Ereshkigal falls into the latter group, one of the better ones. So this is a very good purchase if you are into Ereshkigal or a fan of Fate Grand Order in general. However, for me personally, I would really have quite an issue with my own OCD if I were to have these two figures on my shelf, given their size differences are rather on the obvious side. That is just me, of course. And yeah, before I end the video, if you're wondering about the background I was using to photograph this figure of Ereshkigal, this one right here. Yeah, the one you saw in the earlier parts of this video. This is aquarium PU foam, right? Compact foam, the same kind of backgrounds you see people put into their aquariums, their fish tanks. Yeah, aquarium foam. This is the perfect background for Ereshkigal, the underworld setup. Alright. And I said that this figure is rather difficult to photograph. At least it is harder than what I was expecting because of her pose, her two arms being this way like this. So what happens is that her arms, when you have a light source coming from an angle, it will cast shadows on her face. And unfortunately, this is the case for both sides of the face since both of her arms are up like this. So this figure, despite being a simple looking one, it's not very easy to photograph if you are photographing her in a studio setup with lighting. Yeah, I guess that is all about the review of this figure of Ereshkigal. If you enjoyed this review, please do consider giving this video a like and subscribing to this channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again. Goodbye.